Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at the RockyMounts MonoRail Platform 2-bike bike rack on a 2022 BMW X3. Now when choosing a bike rack, there's plenty of options out there, and as someone that's had a variety of different bike racks on my vehicle, I've kind of landed on one style that I really like, and that's going to be a platform wheel mounted with tilting. And that's because it really checks a lot of the boxes. First off, your platform is, I think, the best way to secure your bike. So if your bike is a big investment and you want to take care of it for a long time, I think this is the best because it really holds it on and holds it in place well. Now there's also frame mounted, and you can see this one's on the tire here, which is really great because you can use it on all styles of bike. You can really just ratchet this down. It's going to hold it in place. You'll see some bike racks that are platform with a frame mount, and those are going to just cinch down on the frame and really hold it in place, and they're great for most bikes. They'll just, again, clamp down on here, but the pressure is put on the frame, so that does kind of limit you. As far as your carbon fiber frames, you're not going to want to use those. And some of your odd shaped mountain bikes, sometimes you really have to ratchet that down, whereas the wheel mount, as the name implies, goes on the wheel, and I think it's a really solid mount. And sometimes with your frames being odd shaped, they just don't really clamp down on a great spot and it can move around, whereas on your tire, once you kind of clamp it on here, it's not going to move anywhere. It's latched in kind of on the back side of the radius, so it really holds it in place. And while it's ratcheted here, you also have it sitting in a nice tray that's contoured to the shape of the tire. So this one has a narrow little slot here that's great for this road bike, but also you can see it's extremely wide as well. So this can actually hold your fat tire bike. So really, if you're road riding one day and you want to ride your fat tire bike, this is going to work well for you. Another nice piece of mind too is you have this ratcheting strap on the back tire, which it's a nice little plastic here, so it shouldn't scratch your wheel. It still has that nice contouring here, so it's going to be able to be used on a bunch of different bikes. A nice little feature that's included is our integrated cable lock here, and it actually comes with a key and lock, and you'll see it just slides on here, and that's going to allow you, there's plenty of length here to be able to wrap it around both bikes, and this is nice. Not all bike racks will come with something like this, and honestly it comes down to the fact of if you plan on riding your bike later in the day or early in the morning, you got to run some errands. Sometimes if I don't have my cable lock on the bike, I'm always worrying while I'm in the store or at work that someone could just take it and walk away. Well, with this you can loop it around your bikes and it's going to be locked. You'll have the key, and this key is actually key to like with the anti-rattle bolt, which is really nice. You'll have one key, that way you can lock the hitch in place, and then you can also have your safety cable in place too, holding that bike in, and you just have to have one key on your keychain. Anti-rattle bolt is also really nice because as you tighten this down, it's threaded into the shank here, so it's going to cinch this up, make it to where it's completely solid. There's no rattling around in the inside of the receiver tube. Now, one of those traits that I mentioned earlier that I personally really like is the tilting feature. And my car is a hatchback, and so is this X3. In a lot of SUVs or anything along those lines, it's nice to be able to have your bike attached, be able to pull this lever down, and you can see it tilts. So that's great not only if you keep your riding supplies in the back, you can have your helmet, your gloves, or whatever it may be, but also if you have to run around, get some groceries or whatever, you're not in the parking lot taking your bike off, you can simply tilt it. You have full access here, no problem, and then you can close this up, and then your bike's just going to simply go back into place, and you're good to go. Now removing your bike is also super easy as well. I can simply just push this tab in, that's going to unlock this ratcheting strap here, and it's still going to hold itself in place. That's because our wheel mount is holding it in. So it's nice too, you can just push this, raise this up. I can hold on to my handlebars, and again, one hand, pretty easy to lift off too. You can see it's nice and open, and also if you want to, you can push this down and make it nice and easy to remove your bike. Now, obviously, it does add some length to your vehicle, and on the X3, from the furthest point of the rear fascia to the furthest point on our bike rack, it's going to be 33 inches, so just keep that in mind. That's just the bike rack, so if your handlebars are a little bit wider, they may stick out a little further, but if you're parking in your garage and you're used to just being able to back in, just keep in mind you're going to be adding that. Also, if you're parking in a parking lot and you're backing up, just something to think about. Now also, your rear view camera with your bike in the way, you may not be able to use it depending on your bike, so something else to keep in mind. Now you may say, well, that's a lot to add on to the back of a vehicle, but the great part is when you don't have your bikes attached to it, you can simply lift this up and it's going to be in that stowed position, and that's going to really cut down. We went from 33 down to 16, so more than half. So that's really nice when you're not having your bike on here. It stores and it looks really good overall when it's in that folded up position. Now you'll see this comes out straight from our shank. There's no rise or drop. So as far as ground clearance, we're looking at about 11 inches from the bottom of our bike rack here. So not too bad. And also it extends a little bit here. You're not gonna have to worry too much unless you're on a really steep incline, and this will kind of dive down a little bit. It's just something to keep in mind if you're going up a large hill. But other than that, you still have a lot of great ground clearance here. Now, while putting this bike rack together, something that I noticed that I really like that you really don't see on some other bike racks is you'll see it slotted here, and that's going to give you just a little bit of adjustability on the top and bottom. So if you're using the same bikes, you load 2 on at a time, sometimes pedals can kind of cause some clearance, or handlebars, and they just kind of bind against each other and can cause rubbing. This is going to allow you to kind of shift it one way or the other. That way you for sure can get that clearance that you need between the 2 bikes. And that was a look at the RockyMounts MonoRail 2-bike platform style bike rack on a 2022 BMW X3.